Hello everyone, my name is Rahim Dad for Dubai Desert Driving Etiquettes and Techniques, and today I'm joined with Frederic and Veronica, who are marshals in one of the best clubs.
Vanessa! Rahim!
Okay, again. Hi everyone, my name is Rahim Dad, and I'm here with. See, I go again.
Fred and Vanessa. Fred and Vanessa.
Vanessa, Veronica. Where did Veronica come
Now onwards it's gonna be Veronica.
Okay, there are too many minor.
I didn't bring Veronica tonight.
Yeah, DJ.
She's upstairs.
Yeah, DJ, you said.
Oh.
Vanessa.
Yes.
Vanessa.
You will forget.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rahim Dad, and I'm back to you for the Dubai Desert Driving Etiquettes and Techniques. Today, we are joined by Frederic and Vanessa, who are marshals at one of the best clubs, off-road clubs in the UAE. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rahim.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, thank you for giving me your time because I know you're off-roader by morning and DJ by night.
DJ not anymore, honestly, since I moved to the Middle East. Yes, off-roader still. Morning, evening, night, whenever we can. And when the season allows. It's still a little bit hot now these days, but we still enjoy it.
Absolutely. For us, at one time, there was no season. We were always out, right?
Every season.
There is still no season.
No. No season.
No, there's still no season.
Just, even if
Summer,
it's
winter,
night,
we go.
let's just do it.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, hot, sweaty nights, we'll do it in the nights.
course.
Yeah. So, I mean, the audience would like to know how you were introduced to off-roading. So, you have your work, you have your DJ set, and then you have your passion, which we can see in your cars with your audio systems and your knowledge of how to. In that, how did you come across the off-roading, both of you in this case? Who wants to speak first?
He started first.
I'll go first. Now, actually, we moved to the Middle East around 2012, first of all, which was Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And yeah, for a Belgian that's never been in off-roading in general, because as you were saying, I was into hi-fi audio systems. I've always been a bit of an automotive freak, so cars in general was always part of my interest. But then, yeah, moving to the Middle East, seeing a totally different type of cars. So we moved to Saudi Arabia in 2012. And the first couple of weeks, she was still in Belgium. And I was talking to her about the wonderful cars, the wonderful 4x4s that I was seeing. Amongst one of them, because I was back then driving a small Hyundai Accent rental car, and they were pushing me off the road. As you know, it's Saudi Arabia. And at one point, I saw an FJ Cruiser for the very first time. And for me, an FJ Cruiser, I haven't seen anything like that in Belgium. You just don't see them in Belgium. So the very first time I saw a car like the FJ Cruiser was like, either I'm in a cartoon or this is an absolutely amazing 4x4. So I was like talking to her on the phone or on Skype. We were Skyping. I was like, I'm going to buy me one of those. And she's like, are you sure? Because that's a heavy car. And I said, when you move to Saudi, you'll understand why I want to have a heavy car, safety-wise.
Which I was not allowed to drive, by the way.
Yes, because in Saudi, she was not yet allowed to drive.
Oh,
So yeah, on the weekend, went to a car dealer, saw one outside, which was in fantastic Voodoo Blue, which was a 2007 Voodoo Blue FJ Cruiser.
Our Smurf mobile.
Yeah, the Smurfable mobile, which was actually in fantastic condition. It was a 2007, so 5 years old.
Yeah.
Mileage was still okay. The only thing was it was a US import, which was for me like, okay, no harm done. It's a good car. So I was talking to the Egyptian salesman, and the Egyptian salesman, he was trying to get the best price for the best deal, of course.
Of course.
And we were just chit-chatting, and I was like, okay, something I noticed that your price is still somewhat lower than the general prices for an FJ Cruiser in Saudi Arabia. And he said, it's all about the blue color because in Saudi Arabia, nobody really likes that kind of flashy color. People like the white or the black FJ Cruisers. I was like, okay, fair deal. Bought the car, took it home, and my former boss, he came to know I had an FJ Cruiser. So he said, have you ever driven in the sand? I said, no, I would love to try. So he said, I don't know much, but I just know we need to deflate a little bit. I don't know how much. And coming weekend, we'll go and drive in the sand. In Jubail, where I was living, you didn't really have large dunes in that area, but lots of sapkas, soft sand, places to have camping, barbecue, that kind of stuff. So on a Saturday morning, we set out, my colleague and me, deflated a little bit, went into the sand. Within 30 seconds, I got stuck. So I was like, okay, that's a bit strange. It's a 4x4. And I saw the car was like really sunk in only at the rear wheels. So I was really trying to get an understanding, okay, did I deflate enough? Because going on YouTube, you see the videos about off-roading in the US, of course, mostly. Where they say, yeah, just deflate 18, 20, 25, good enough.
But they're off trolling, right?
Exactly.
20, 25 is...
Exactly. Yeah. Nothing really prepared me to say this is on the sand, 18 PSI is still way too high. So I was driving somewhere on 18 PSI and I looked at it and I got stuck within 2 minutes and I didn't understand why. So a few minutes later, there was one Saudi family passing by with a Land Cruiser. Came out to help. The kids jumped out of the car. They started deflating my tires. Okay, this is fun. So even the young boy, similar to our boy, 10 years old, jumped into the car, started to look for the levers. And I hear him shouting to his father like, Mafi, something that's not there.
Missing.
Something's missing in that car.
I already know what it is.
Yeah, he knew also.
But the audience...
Exactly.
But
the father got into the car and he started to look around, play around. And he looked at me, he said, where's your 4x4 lever? I said, I don't know. I said, I assume this is a permanent 4x4. I just arrived in the Middle East. I just assumed because I knew absolutely nothing about off-roading living in Belgium because we don't go off-roading in Belgium. So the guy said, no, usually there should be, next to your automatic transmission, there should be a 4 high, 4 low lever. I said, I'm really sorry. I have no idea what you're talking about. Nothing. Or a switch, like with the Prados, the switch, nothing was there. So he was also confused, up to the point he said, I have never seen an FJ Cruiser that doesn't have this kind of lever. Let me call my friend. So 5 minutes later, the friend arrives.
4 times 2.
Exactly. So the next guy that came in, he came in with a huge Chevy Trailblazer, which was lifted, fantastic car. Came to have a look at the car, and within 1 second he told me, you bought a 2-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So I said, that's impossible, it's an FJ Cruiser. Even amongst themselves, there was a discussion. They said, well, I've never seen a 2-wheel drive FJ Cruiser. Where did you get it? I said, I bought it in Dammam.
Yeah.
US import. Oh, yeah, US import. Then finally...
Yeah.
So, of course, that limited the capabilities we could do with that FJ Cruiser.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the only stuff back then we were doing was just camping, barbecuing with a couple of friends from the compound. And we didn't really go very far. Because all of the other cars were like a Kia Mojave.
We went with the Kia Mojave in the desert.
The Hyundai Veracruz.
Too heavy for the desert.
Yeah.
But it was most of the time it was just sapkas and then we just parked the car somewhere under the tree.
Yeah, exactly. And it was great. We saw how much the kids loved it. The fact it's one big sand playground, you know.
Yeah.
So 2.5 years Saudi, moved back to Belgium for 1 year, got a job offer to come to Dubai, came to Dubai and we bought one car, which I think was the BMW.
The BMW and then the little Peugeot.
Yeah, which
The
was a small rental car or a lease. So at one point I told her, I said, I'm actually looking out, because even in Belgium I always loved old cars. Restoring old cars, working on old cars. I always loved it, and I was like, what's a better place than UAE? Because fairly easily and fairly fast I noticed that labor cost, of course, is a lot lower. You can still get a good decent deal. Look at what you purchased.
Look at what
You can get a fantastic deal. You can't get those kinds of deals in Europe anymore. It's much more difficult. So I was slowly getting interested in the whole 4x4 off-roading scene, but I knew still absolutely nothing. So at one point I told her, I said, tonight I'm going to the car market, which was the famous Razakor car market.
Yeah, Razakor, yes.
And I saw a 99 short wheelbase 2-door manual gear Peugeot.
Oh wow.
I immediately called her. Well, you know it, the little blue, the
Yeah,
famous little blue. I immediately called her. I said, I found a car. She said, okay, what did you find? So I'm sending her photos. She calls me back immediately. Are you nuts? You know how old this
I
car
didn't
is?
like the
Are you
car at all.
completely nuts? Why would you want to buy this kind of car?
yeah,
I said, I like it because it's quirky.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything yet. It was getting rare, and it was actually in great condition.
yeah.
According to the sales guy, of course, it came from an Emirates pilot, but every car here seems to come from an Emirates pilot and is lady driven, something like that, you know.
Yeah, the FJ also was
It's always the
just
same
for the
excuse.
color, you know. The FJ was just for the color.
Exactly.
Because Saudis don't like the color.
Exactly.
It was never about being a two-wheel drive, yeah?
No.
Did you go back to that Egyptian?
No, never went back. Never went back. I bought it, so I'm the stupid guy. So yeah, eventually the small Pajero, took it home. It was already running on 5 cylinders, driving it home. So I felt like something is fishy.
Yeah.
Took it to a couple of shops. They said, yeah, your engine is gone. Better replace the engine. I said, okay, that's a good start of this whole adventure. Replace the engine, okay? They put in a scrapyard engine. Started off-roading. You know, you were there. 2018, started off-roading.
I was there.
Just trying to climb this stupid little fossil rock, which to us during that time, fossil rock was like a major mountain.
Yeah.
As a beginner, you're like, oh my God, trying to climb this, how am I going to do this?
Same with me. When
Same
I
like
started
everyone.
Fossil
Exactly.
Rock for the first 3-4 times, I was like, why the hell do I have to go up there?
Exactly. Similar thing what happened with Pink Rock. I was like going from one adventure into another, and the car had no power. And somehow, Gaurav Bhai, as you know, he was driving the 3.5. He said, Freddy, you can do the same thing with the 3 liter. I said, no, it just doesn't
And
have
you
the
have a
power.
manual, so you have little
Exactly.
bit more playability.
Exactly. So I was hoping I'm probably doing something wrong with the gearing. I'm just not finding the right momentum. So I was not being able to decently get some power out of the car. Again, brought it to a couple of shops. Couldn't find anything. All the feedback, and you are very much aware of that, all the feedback of the garages was so it's just an old car. And that's not the feedback you want to hear. It's
No.
like, no, I'm trying to get it fixed.
Yeah.
I do know this is an old car, but I
Yes.
do know something technically is wrong.
Yes.
And I want you to troubleshoot and diagnose and try to find a solution for it. Because I knew something was holding back the car, like it had no oxygen, you know?
Yeah. True.
And took it to 3-4 different shops, all the same results. Yeah, it's an old car, sir. I don't think we can do anything. Somewhat disappointed.
Yeah.
I was slowly getting a little bit better into the off-roading. I started to realize, okay, finding the tricks, because it was a super underpowered car at the time.
Yeah, it was.
And at one time, got in touch with another workshop, and this guy from the workshop said, you know what, Freddy, leave the car here for a couple of days. We'll have a look at it. No harm done. If I can find something, I'll give you a call. If not, it is what it is. So I said, okay, yeah, that's fine. Dropped off the car. Within 1 day, he calls me back. He said, Freddy, pass by after work. I said, okay. Pass by after work. That was in Alcoos. Jump in the car. The moment I start the car, there was already like kind of a grunt or a roar. I was like, what did you change? What did you do? He said, take it for a spin. Started to drive it. And finally, the car felt like it has the original power. The power was still there. So I asked him, I said, what did you change? Because, okay, 1 day work can't be much, you know.
Yeah.
So seemed like the previous owner put the timing completely off, or the previous mechanic put the timing off, probably in order to try to save a bit of fuel. Hence, the car had no grunt at all. So since that day, well, you know it, started to drive that car and...
No, Mitsubishi's, those engines, those, even whether it be the 3.0 or the 3.5, the timing has to be done exactly right.
Yes.
If it is a little bit off, you're lucky, because Gaurav Bhai's timing was
Yes,
off,
correct.
and he blew a valve on that. And the whole engine had to open. All the valves had to be changed, ground and put it back. It was horrible.
Yeah, I was really lucky with that one. And
So you're just lucky that nothing untoward happened, that you just didn't have the power.
God bless. But since that day, the power was there. So
Power is there, and you're there in the desert with that power. And now, Vanessa, how did you start off? So you didn't start off with that mini Peugeot.
I started off with a little Pajero, yes.
Yes, the little Peugeot manual.
Because he went off-roading every week,
Yeah.
came home,
Yeah.
covered in sand, head to toe. And every time he came through the front door, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you being so stupid of going in the sand? It's everywhere. What is so interesting about
Why are you
driving your
bringing
car?
dunes home?
I know. And I'm like, the whole car is full of sand. You are full of sand. There's sand in places you don't want sand. I'm like, what is interesting about that? And he's like, just, you know what? Give it a try. And he asked me a couple of weeks, couple of months actually.
couple of
He's like,
months,
come on.
And this is after the car was sorted out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So every week he come, he's like, come on, give it a try. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. So in the meantime, he bought me the big Peugeot.
The big Peugeot.
3.8.
Was
Because
a
we needed a family
family-
car.
was a
We
family
sold
car.
the BMW and then we bought the big family car because we wanted to go camping sometimes. And then we have 2 kids and there's always school bags. And I was driving kids around from and to school. I was like a carpool system. I was like a taxi. My car is always full
And today she's
to the brim.
up to this day.
Up to this day, I know. That's why we still have big cars. So he said, why don't you give it a try? So at one point, I broke and I said, stop whining about this off-road. I will give it a try. So went in the little Pajero. So my first drive was with Gorav. And I did apparently quite good, to be honest. But I was not really convinced yet. I was like, this is interesting, but I need to practice a little bit more. So after, I think, 2 or 3 drives, I was like, oh, I'm going to enjoy this.
Hooked.
But then my problem was I want to try it with my big Pajero.
Right.
I'm like, I don't want the little Pajero.
Yeah.
I want the big Pajero. And then everybody in the club said, you're not going to take that big Pajero into the desert. It's heavy and it's underpowered and it's going to be stuck and it's just stock. You have to lift it and you have... No. I'm going with my big blue. That was my
The big blue, yeah.
The big blue and the little blue. With my big blue, I'm going to give it a try and I'm going to do it. And I struggled a lot in the beginning. I got stuck 1,000 times and I was frustrated and I was mad. And then every week I came home and I'm like, I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm done. I don't like this car. I can't do it.
By
I'm
the
done.
next week she was finally happy.
But in the next week I was back in my car. So I climbed up the ladder like everybody else. And then I became the first and still the only female marshal in the club, with my big blue, which I was very proud of. And then in the beginning of the year, I changed my big blue into another blue. So I said, look, the Pajero was good. She did all she can. I got all out of my car that I could. And I still love the big blue. Every time I see a Pajero, I'm still, why did I sell her? But it was time for a change. Absolutely. So I bought the Xterra, which is blue. Smaller, blue again, and is quite aggressive, to be honest.
Yeah, 2 less seats, 200 more.
So I can't take that many cars anymore. Kids anymore, not cars, kids. So but I'm addicted to off-roading. So I had my 4th back surgery done, and when was it? In June. June, yeah. So I was out for quite a while before and out for a while after it, but yeah, I'm back again. And I'm enjoying it.
Good to know. Good to know.
You have to stay.
So this is the story of how they started off-roading. But when you were made marshal, so you're one of the first husband and wife in any club to make marshal status, more or less at the same time. So what was Fred, first we'll go with you. What were your feelings as a marshal? Of course, there's more responsibilities that come with being a marshal. But I think the club that we were with had everything defined very well. So everybody was prepared to take on that marshal status when you reach there. Unlike when me and my brother reached martial art, we are like, what the hell?
had to
What
lay
do
the
we do
foundation.
now?
You guys had to lay the foundation.
So, how did you feel and how did you take on those responsibilities?
That's a very good question, Raheem. Now, as you rightly said, the fact that there was a club, there was a structure, there was a way to grow, and that growth, one of the very important points for me personally was there was always a constant feedback loop. Every single drive, we were sitting together, spending time together, and even the small remarks, the small things that would say, okay, next time take this ridge a little bit longer, do it like this, do it like that.
Yeah.
And for me, that was crucial to be with a group of like-minded people, not in a club with 50,000 people where you're just number X,
Yeah.
but at least people know you, you know them. And I think for both of us, that was one of the key points in the club for us that allowed us to keep growing in the club, because we felt that our presence matters. The fact that we are there, everyone's presence matters, and we always felt for ourselves, our presence matters as well. So that was that feeling. I wanted to keep that. And both of us, personality-wise, even though somehow we're completely different, but the one thing we have both in common is we don't try to go around to do 25 hobbies.
Right.
We stick to a couple of hobbies, and we put our maximum effort in it. And we don't easily back down when we put our mind on something, and we've done that in the past as well. When we really commit ourselves to something, we don't want to simply become the best, because it was never about being the best.
No.
There's no such thing as the best off-roader.
No.
But it was about doing this off-roading as a hobby, as a passion, as a thing in life for now. Doing this for the long term. And I also realized that the fact that the moment I became Marshal, the moment that she became Marshal, the conversations we had whenever we are walking the dogs and the kids are not around, the conversations we had was always like, we want to do this in the long term. We want to keep exploring, because it's not just about riding the highest ridges or climbing the biggest bowl, whatever it is. Even before I was Marshal, I realized that that's not what I want to do the next coming 10, 15 years. Becoming a Marshal was good because it allows you to have the technical skill set, and it allows you to start leading drives, but it also means suddenly you have the freedom to choose your own terrain. So I didn't have to be somewhere in the middle of a convoy following somebody else. Suddenly I felt the freedom, like, okay, if I want to do a recce somewhere, God knows where, I can go there.
Yeah. True.
And the good thing is, in the club, I can take a convoy with me. And those people seem to put their trust in me. So that feeling has always been an amazing kind of feeling of trust. Trust from the management of the club, and also trust from the convoy members, that there was always somebody that would show up and say, Yalla, come on, let's do a drive together. And yeah, this is now 2023, 200 plus drives later.
Yeah.
We're still driving every single week. And my mindset has slowly started more into the exploration side of things, doing overlanding drives, because the definition, and that's an important point that I wanted to bring up, what is the real definition of off-roading? In which country were you off-road? When I moved to the Middle East, the first thing they said, okay, off-roading here, it's all about dune bashing.
Yeah, right.
And I didn't disagree, but at the same time I said, okay, is this the only thing, or there could be so much more? Because I started to go on social media, I started to look around, I saw people doing overlanding drives, which would mean long off-road drives,
Right.
where endurance plays a role, where your mental resilience plays a big role. How can you tackle that? How can you do that? So I started to realize, okay, this could be something that I can put this on my mind for the coming years. Not just off-roading for 1 season, 2 seasons, and then just fade out like many people do. They started as a hobby, they buy all the gear, they buy all the equipment, and then after 2 seasons they had it, they seen it, and they're out.
Yeah.
So that was never my intention. I've always been in it for the long game. And as a result, yeah, we kept buying off-road cars. Because every off-road car that I purchased, everything came with a plan. It was always like, but this car is perfect for technical drives, and this car is perfect for the long distance drives.
A plan and a purpose.
A plan and a purpose, and luckily, being in the situation that we can do it today, that we can both off-road, even throughout the COVID period where it became really, really very busy.
True.
And yeah, just seeing, even in the club, seeing young, new people joining every single week, enthusiastic people join every week. So that keeps me going. And as long as there is enthusiastic people coming to the club with millions of questions, I'll be happy to do my part and to help them, to guide them. So that's my major motivation, so to say.
Nice. And when you were made Marshal,
Yeah.
so what went through your mind and how did you react to it? How did you take on that responsibility?
Well, I had to, I'm not going to say fight a little bit more, but I had to prove myself a little bit more.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm a female and I'm in an all men's off-road club. There's
Mostly.
mostly, yeah. We don't have a lot of females in the club. So I had to prove myself a little bit more because when you have a convoy full of men and then you're the only female in there, they don't really trust what you're saying, aren't they? So they always was questioning about me, like, would she know what she's doing? And does she know enough about cars? And does she know this a lot? And I always felt I had to prove myself a little bit more, which I still do until the day now, because I still have the same feeling. But to be honest, the moment that they said I was a marshal, that I became a marshal, I was quite proud of myself. I was like, see, they said I couldn't do it, but I did it. So I was proud. I'm still proud, and I'm still saying on every briefing I'm doing, like, "Hi, I'm Vanessa. I am a female, like you can see. I'm the only female and the first female marshal in the club, and I'm still proud to say that because I did it all myself. He always had my back, and he's always been proud of me and always pushing me in everything I do. And that's not only in off-roading; that's in everything I do. He's always right beside me or behind me, and he's always pushing me to do better and to do more and I'm very happy to have him, because otherwise maybe, well, most probably I would have given up already. But yeah, I'm still there. I'm just still enjoying it every week, and I'm still proud of what I'm doing, and I still know what I'm doing. So and I still want to.
We always
pretend what we're
That's
doing.
good enough.
But
For somebody who knows nothing, if you know a little bit more, that's good enough.
That's good enough. So yeah, I'm still enjoying it a lot, and I'm happy.
That's actually what hobbies are about. They're just about finding that inner peace, finding that inner happiness, taking you away from your daily life, and thinking about something else for a couple of hours, 3 hours, whatever the drive lasts. We come
Sometimes a lot longer.
sometimes a lot longer, but that always happens in my experience when somebody says, "Can we extend the drive for half an hour?" and that half an hour ends up in another 4 hours.
So now,
But
now you people know why I don't extend my drives. We've been there.
you heard it from the horse's mouth itself, yeah. But yeah, coming to specific incidents, because I've driven with both of you a lot, and Fred, you have you're both different. So you're both very calm in your demeanor, but you, Fred, are too calm. You could be sitting in the hellfire and you're like, I come out of it, don't worry. And she'd be like, no, I'm going to do something about it. So very specific incidents come to mind. Fred, with you, you have a habit of piercing the dune so fine that you are stuck right in the center of the dune. Half the car is this side, half the car is that side, and the number plate is split right in the middle. 5-digit number plate is on the third number. So you're still doing it, and what goes through your mind when I've seen you come out of that situation, self-recover, which is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But talk us through that. Talk us through that.
Well, let's just say from a technical point of view about the driving itself, I agree with that. I do appear probably as a calm person. Inside the head, when you're leading drives, when you're taking convoys to places, inside of your mind, it's sometimes completely different reality. True. And sometimes to my convoy members, to my people in the club, I tell them that I do look calm now, but in my mind, there's a whole million things going on the gears are turning, where, how, what, how long, how high. And that's normal. And I always told our new leads as well, like, don't worry about it. Just let it pass. Don't overthink things. Don't overanalyze things. We're here to enjoy. Yeah. Nobody will ever judge you. If you get stuck once, if you get stuck 50 times, no one will ever judge you. We're here to drive together. We're here to have fun. We all had our good days, our bad days. We've had days with continuous stucks that I'm thinking by myself, I better go home and sleep it off because it doesn't seem to work today. And we had days where the convoy was driving amazingly well, and you find the right lines, and it's the right season, the sun is shining, and you have the most amazing time in the sand. So absolutely. From a driving perspective, I do know today that there's so much that I don't know yet. Just came back from a drive in Abu Dhabi, which was again a completely different experience. And I do realize that the dunes change, the formation change, your mind changes, how you approach the dunes, how you drive on the dunes. And yeah, the coming years, I really want to start exploring more outside of UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman. That's all in the back of my head. All those plans, partially, halfly planned, but still lots of work to do, of course. But yeah, whenever I see someone getting stuck in that exact scenario, like perfectly on the ridge, like no one could ever do. When I see somebody else doing it, I just chuckle to myself and say, I've been there. I've done the exact same. And every once in a while it still happens and we just laugh it off. So we always tell the people, even as a lead, we are not perfect people, far from. We just have the idea that we can just stay calm, give people guidance, motivate them, try to get the best out of themselves in their vehicles. True. And that's good enough as a lead. I mean, you don't have to be Mr. Perfect, because there's no such thing as a Mr. Perfect. So the same story we tell to our future leads, like if you're in it for the long term, don't do this for 1 or 2 seasons. Don't start off-roading for 1 or 2 seasons because it's going to be an expensive hobby. You'll get the kit, you'll get the lift kits and the modifications and the bash plates, and you'll be like 1 or 2 seasons, but I want to start playing tennis and do 55 other things. Then I would say this is not really the hobby for you. Commit yourself. What I do find is, when I talk, for example, to colleagues at work, everyone is doing some kind of hobby. Some people play some badminton, they play cricket, which is all a great thing because it's a kind of bonding experience. And true. For me, the biggest driving force behind off-roading for me has been that bonding experience as well, the bonding in the off-roading. Because surely you can go on off-road by yourself, and that can be really amazing as well. But doing this with a group of friends and going through the hardship as well, like the multiple stucks or accidents, God forbid if they happen, but to work as a team together and to come out of it, it creates a kind of bonding experience. Driving together at night, having paratas in the early morning, it creates a kind of bonding experience, and you create friends for life. And that's been part of the fun of off-roading as well, not just the technicalities. And I always tell people, don't focus too much on the technicalities because we are not rally drivers. We're off-roading, we're dune bashing, that's all fine, we're exploring. But we are not the Formula One kind of Jos Verstappen or Max Verstappen, that can do it for one single thousandth of a second faster. We are not that kind of people, and we never wanted to be that kind of people. It's not who we are. It's about, of course, knowing and understanding your vehicle, understanding the technical skills required. But then once you pass that, once you're comfortable in your vehicle, knowing that you have the liberty to explore. And this country has so much to explore still. And I hope the next generation who's upstairs, the young kids, that they can buy a 4x4 and they can start doing the same. Yeah. That's always been for us also part of the talks we have. Yeah. We hope the kids can still do this in 10, 15 years from now, that there is still desert, which is not fenced off, hopefully. Because more and more, of course, it's turning into a kind of, wouldn't say restricted environment, but it's not as before. You've been there many years back, and I think you've seen it changing as well.
Yeah, I mean, so when I went when I showed myself and showed the place that was my favorite place, it was actually fenced off, and I had to go all the way to the mosque and drive through the the power lines just to get close. Pylon tracks just to get close. So it is unfortunately a lot of places are being cordoned off, but it's because of reckless driving because
Exactly.
of
That's a really good point, and I wanted to. That's something I wanted to talk to you about. The whole shift. There's more and more media attention about sustainability, environmental, social responsibility, which, in my opinion, is a really good thing. I've heard people criticizing that. Yeah, why do they close off fossil rock? Why do they close off this? Why do they close off that? My opinion has always been let them do it. It's at the end of the day, it's their country,
Yeah.
it's their land.
Yeah.
They're trying to preserve it
absolutely.
and trying to make sure that people can enjoy it without litter, without damage, without other things flying around. So, in my opinion, I do believe what they think is the right thing. What they do is the right thing.
Yeah.
Fencing off, if it has to be fenced off, let them fence it off. I've been in places sometimes where you're driving and you see tons of gazelles, tons of camels, and even to myself, sometimes I'm thinking, I really don't want to drive here at night. God forbid you hit a young gazelle because they jump out from the bush.
True.
So I think more and more, especially as a club, we also have a responsibility to make sure that where we off-road, we choose the environment where we can off-road safely for us, but also safely for animals, safe for the environment.
Absolutely.
That we don't. You created the motto. I think tread lightly, and it's still there. It's still in the core of the club, and we take it with us whenever we off-road as well. We don't create any damage. We try not to create any damage, but on the other hand, we do still drive, of course, 4x4. So it's a little bit balancing
Fine line.
balancing on a thin line. We do drive around in the desert, and of course, some cars are louder than other cars. So it's a hobby where we have to be responsible in what we do.
Absolutely.
But of course, doing it in a decent way. And if the government decides to fence off a certain area because they want to preserve it, I would say I will never go across that fence. It's a good decision that they are doing.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you've heard of Wadi Voraya.
Yeah.
Now, I was the most unluckiest one because Wadi Voraya was open up to, I think, 2007, and I started off-roading just at the time when they fenced it off. It was the most beautiful wadi you could see in the UAE,
UAE.
in the whole of UAE, in the whole region. That was the most beautiful wadi with almost 33,000 plus species in this area, which were preserved.
Wow.
But I have seen what we humans have done.
Yeah.
What people like me have done, go spray paint the rocks,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
has chemicals. This has a certain impact on the environment. Burning fire wood on the ground. This has caused some kind of destruction. This has
Absolutely.
affected the species there. And to preserve these species and to preserve the environment, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site now, which has been closed for the past, 15 years. And we can't even get close to it now.
Yeah.
So definitely this is something, which has to be addressed. And this has to be addressed by people like you and me who are involved in off-roading and by talking about
Correct.
it. And that's why I've created this channel, because a lot of things you've said is already there as tutorials on my channel. How to deflate,
lightly.
it's
How
not
to deflate.
18.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
Vanessa, coming to you,
Yes.
you're totally different, So I remember being on a fossil rock drive when we were doing the side slopings, and it was your turn with the big blue.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I saw you come down and I was like, what's wrong? And by the time I go there, you already jacked up your car and you had a pop out. And you're fixing it with the children on board.
Yes, and I've always been quite independent. So I know when I make a mistake, and the pop out was my mistake because I hit a bush or something that was on the side slope. So I said, well, I can do it myself, and I still do it myself. We had a crossing that we did in Liwa, last year actually, And there was also a pop-out that needs to be fixed. So I had a whole convoy with lots of supports and lots of men to help me. No. I was the lead. I was going to fix the pop-out. And I was on my knees. And then the guy from the car said, but I will do it. No, it's okay. You just stay there. I will do it. So I want to show what I can do, and I can do it. So I'm physically now I'm a little bit more restricted, so the shoveling is done for me.
So twice the shoveling for me now.
So twice the shoveling for him and for my support members that are in the drive. But I can still, if I can do it myself, I'm going to do it myself. That's
but this is the difference between the two. So when Fred puts it right in the center of a ridge, he will come out, he will speak to a couple of people, he will look at the car, what needs to be done, assess the situation, go back. Vanessa already has in her mind what she's going to do, and before we can react, she's already at it. So this is the vast difference between the two.
yeah, that is the difference, indeed.
Yeah. So it's so nice conversing with you guys after such a long time, But so let's end with your remarks. There's a lot of lessons learned here. How to see a car, make sure you don't buy a two-wheel drive just because it's blue. And you guys are in the habit of buying blue. So any of the audience want to sell the blue cars, you know who to sell it to. The small blue, the big blue, the two-wheel drive blue, all blue. So any blue cars, they're ready to buy.
Yeah.
They have a showroom full of blue cars. But yeah, so many lessons learned today, and such a pleasure to get your point of views and how you entered off-roading, how you reached the Marshal status, and how you treated that Marshal status. For you, Fred, I'm really impressed because not only did you do that, but you also started creating a record and do some of your own homework on radios and share that, to have the FMRs, the free, to use frequencies. License-free frequencies, so we can hear the constructions worker working while we are trying to say reverse.
Exactly.
So yeah, a lot of keeping track of it, which driver has driven certain number of drives, because that would help us keep track of. At the end, we had like 100 plus drivers with over 15 drives in a week.
Yeah.
And you literally kept record of who drove, who came, who didn't, who was a no-show. And so what we should be aware of and when people deserve their promotions. And you helped us keep track of it, which was an amazing skill.
I think it was needed because the club quickly went from being a small club where everybody knew each other's face, how they're driving, what we should be mindful of. And suddenly I think that was even just before COVID, we were doing newbie drives, and at one point we organized, do you remember the Solar Park drive? We had 45
divided into 4 groups.
45 or 50
drivers on that
of which all of them are newbies, and you start from zero. So how do you keep track of them? And the thing is, what I always found important was you need to have the data, to collect the data, to make sure that people are supported in the right way, that you don't promote somebody too soon while he is not ready, even if he thinks he's ready. That was one aspect of it. But having the data also allowed us, as a club, amongst the management, to reflect and to look back and to sit together and say, okay, in which direction is this going? How do we make sure that we have enough drives organized, that we have enough leads? Where do we need to work on? So in my line of work, I'm doing something similar. We use data to support our business processes and to look at how we are moving in the right or in the wrong direction. So I was no stranger to that, and I loved the application of that in the club as well. What was not needed is that we should not provide thousands of numbers of data to a new member joining. To a new member joining, the only thing he needs to know, how do I put up my flag? Where do I deflate? What compressor do I buy? And that was good enough, because beginners already have millions of questions to start off with. So what we never wanted to do was throw too much data onto their plate from day one. So we kept that purposefully in the back end amongst the management to decide amongst ourselves, okay, this is the data that we collect short-term, long-term, and we see the trends, we see where it's going. How is the seasonality going? How is the pickup of new members joining us? Is there something we can do when new members are joining? Something they forget, sometimes information that's not being carried through, how to program their radio and stuff like that.
True.
So for me personally, it was really, I was really dedicated and committed to make that for the club. And I really love doing that, to create the content of where does it start, which compressor to buy, because I was in the same boat. I went to the shop, I want to buy a compressor. You can buy one for 50, you can buy one for 4,000. And then you start asking around, what should I buy? And the answer is, there is no clear answer. Depends on what you want to do.
Yeah.
Do you want
your budget is.
Do you want to off-road for 2 drives?
Yeah.
Go and pick up the 50 dirham compressor. It will probably survive a couple of drives.
Yeah, true.
Do you want to buy the 4,000 dirham compressor? It's probably going to be a great
You
compressor.
inflate the whole
Exactly, you can inflate the entire convoy. The question is it needed? And we've always in the club, we've always been very, very mindful when somebody joins with whatever vehicle they have, whatever tools they have. We always tell them, hey, quickly go to Dragonmart. You can pick this up for 25 dirham.
Yeah.
And the idea behind that was because we wanted to open it up to everyone, not to create a club of off-roaders where you have a kind of high-level approach that you need to spend 50,000 before you can join us. Exactly. Of course, there was a set of tools which they needed, which we said you have to be self-reliant. If you go to the desert, we want people to be self-reliant.
True.
We don't want people start utilizing other people's tools and compressors because they're so easy to buy. Go to Dragonmart, look around, talk to the people in the club. What compressor do you have? What do you have? Are you happy with it? Chinese compressors, will they last a month, a year? Nobody knows. Yours was still, last time I saw you were still using the same one. We still have the same one,
Still
5
have the
years.
same one.
I used mine for 7 before I did through it.
Exactly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that
But then one of them lasted me less than 4 months.
exactly.
And then I had to buy another one which is still going on
Yeah,
till date.
we had the same experiences. So it's a little bit hit and miss. But the main message was, and then that's for me a little bit the closing message is, if you want to start off-roading as a hobby, start in the right club, which is also not an easy thing. There are clubs that will immediately tell you, you need to get a lift kit, otherwise you can't come back. I was lucky and blessed to find a club that told me, hey, just deflate, yalla, come with us.
Correct.
We'll have fun. And if your car doesn't make it to the top,
Well, you
Who
have
cares?
to have a clearance of the car.
Yeah, a bit of
you can't
clearance.
come with the sun. You can't come with the sun.
yeah, Nissan Sunny is not going to do it. But we've always been very open to so many different types of cars, and we were always keen to try it, even an all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
We said, join us on an UB drive and we'll figure it out. How does it work? Yeah, it doesn't have a low range. Okay. We had Nissan Muranos, we had Renault Coleos.
The duster.
Yeah, we had a Duster where people arrive on the drive and they tell us, I can't probably cross a single dune. And we took them on Vossenrock many times.
Yeah.
And those people at the end of the drive, they're like blown away. I didn't know I could do this with my car. And we said,
there
no,
was
you
a
did
Renault
it.
Clios, yeah.
Yeah.
I met him today.
Yeah.
So goes to show that we've always been open to try to accept as many vehicles as we could, different types of vehicles, but with an emphasis, bring what you have. Make sure, of course, that it is 4x4 capable. That's an important thing, and that's the distinction that you're making in your videos as well.
Yeah,
All-wheel drive versus 4x4.
Yeah. So only the blue FJs with no 4-wheel drive gears not allowed. Rest all. Yeah. So closing message from you, Vanessa.
Well, my closing message is actually for all the women in the world. Well, in the UAE, not in the world, but in the UAE. There's I see many clubs. I see sometimes when I drive in my club, other clubs in the desert also, but you don't see a lot of female drivers, which I'm quite sad about, because I think it's not a. Most of the people say, "Oh, but it's a manly sport." No, it's not.
No, absolutely
it's
not.
absolutely not. I'm a female. I'm not a typical makeup-filled, blonde, long hair female, but I'm still a female.
Anyone
So-
can do it.
anyone can do it if you just take the time to learn how to drive your vehicle, and if you enjoy it, and if you put your effort in it, and if you see it as a hobby and a passion, and I see it more as a passion, then you can do anything as a female. And you don't need the strength, because sometimes you think, oh, it's a man's sport because you need to shovel and you need to. I'm shoveling my ass off, but it's just, if you don't need the strength. Shoveling has nothing to do with strength. It's just the right way of shoveling. You don't even need strength if you do it in the right way. So I think I need more females in the off-road clubs. Message to all the females. Come take your 4x4. Ask your husband for a Jeep or a Peugeot or whatever 4x4, and
buy it yourself.
Huh?
Or buy it yourself.
Or buy it yourself, yes, of course, sorry. And just come drive in the desert with me. I can do an all-ladies drive. We did that once, didn't we? So, yeah, that would be awesome. Amazing. I can lead. Just all join.
And now he has passed this message to all the males watching my videos. No, I know that my mom and my cousins and some ladies watching, but for some reason the YouTube keeps telling me in my analysis that only male are watching my videos.
No, they're not.
So to all the females out there,
Start changing
so
that.
any females out there watching, definitely this is not a sport which is for men only. Yes, like Vanessa found it difficult to find her niche within that off-road club. Yes, you will have to work that much harder. Yes, you will have to prove yourself time and time again, but it's worth it. She is enjoying it for the past 5 years. Why can't you? Come join. I mean, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters, you have to be a legal driving age and bring a 4-wheel drive. Don't get 2-wheel drives. When you go to buy a car, make sure it's got the low, the high gear, the low, 4 high, 4 low.
Look for the lever.
Yeah, look.
The 4x4 lever.
You know what? My car is almost there. It's ready mechanically. It's sound now. I can say I'm happy with it. I just need to get some mods done. The next thing I'm looking is for a skid plate, a proper protection, a flag mount.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm not sure about the suspensions, but maybe I get bigger suspensions and bigger tires. And then I'm gonna hold you on for a ride.
Yes.
We're gonna ride together on one of the drives.
We will.
Basically living here in the desert. It's nearby. I don't know if you've seen it.
I drove through it. I drove through it.
Surrounded by sand here. So
Good.
No, such a pleasure. Let's shake on it. We have a drive.
Yes, we do.
And Vanessa is going to lead us because
Yes, she's gonna lead.
Yes.
yes. And you will be
I'll try to be on
you will
the
be
bridge.
the sweep.
I'll be on the
You will be
bridge.
the sweep. So if we miss out on you, you can join us later for the
I might disappear.
after party.
Yeah.
I might
Something
disappear.
like
You know
that.
that.
Very
No,
good.
we need a DJ for the after party. So, yeah, it's such a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I hope the audience enjoyed it. Keep tuned because I have more and more such content coming up. I have more interviews lined up. I have so much more what I'm going to do with my car, modifications which are approved by RTA. And I'm going to bring this all to you in my upcoming episodes. So, stay tuned. And I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.